Hello everyone, it's Harmony, and welcome to the visual guide for Thornmarch hard mode. This trial will become available during the level 50 main scenario quest called You Have Selected Regicide. Before we jump into the guide, I want to quickly point out that for level 50 and above, it's not unusual for the hard mode versions of a trial to be the default for the story. This is simply a design choice by the game developers, so don't feel intimidated if you see it listed as a main scenario requirement. I also want to point out that this trial introduces a new feature, the Vulnerability Up debuff. This is a stacking status effect that can't be removed, lasts for 1 minute, and increases the damage you take from all sources. You'll gain this debuff whenever you're hit by an avoidable boss mechanic. This will be the standard for all trials and dungeons moving forward. When the battle begins, you will face off against Whiskerwall Kupti-Koop. This is a paladin-type enemy, and can be quickly identified by the pale blue pom atop its head. Whiskerwall will use Spinning Mog Shield, a circular area of effect centered on itself. To avoid this, simply step out of the marked telegraphed area. When Whiskerwall has been defeated, 2 more Moogles will appear, Ruffletuff Kupta-Kappa and Woolywart Kupku-Kogi. Ruffletuft is a warrior-type enemy, easily recognised by the red pom atop its head, while Woolywart is an archer-type enemy, distinguished by its green pom. Ruffletuft will turn to face a random player before using 1000 Couponze Swipe, a sizable frontal cone-shaped area of effect. To avoid this attack, simply step out of the marked telegraphed area. Meanwhile, Woolywart will use Mograine of Death, targeting all players with a circular area of effect for unavoidable damage, spread out to prevent overlapping damage from one another. When Ruffletuft and Woolywart are defeated, 2 more Moogles will appear, Furryfoot Kooply-Kip and Puxy-Picko the Shaggy Song. Furryfoot is a white mage-type enemy, easily identified by the white pom atop its head, while Shaggy Song is a bard type distinguished by its azure blue pom. Shaggy Song will cast Moogle Day Night Fever, a huge frontal cone-shaped area of effect. This attack is much easier to avoid if you stay close to Shaggy Song, allowing you to more quickly move out of its marked telegraphed area. Meanwhile, Furryfoot will use Pom Holy, a group-wide attack that deals unavoidable damage to all party members. You should prioritise defeating Furryfoot first, as it can also heal itself and other enemies if left unchecked. When Furryfoot and Shaggy Song are defeated, the final 2 Moogle guards will appear, Pukla-Pookie, the Pom Burner, and Pukna-Pako, the Tail Turner. Pom Burner is a black mage-type enemy, easily recognised by the purple pom on its head. Tail Turner, on the other hand, is a rogue type, marked by a yellow pom. Pom Burner will cast Pom Meteor, conjuring 4 circular area of effects around the battlefield. Each area of effect will detonate after a short delay, dealing devastating, unavoidable damage to the entire group. To prevent this, at least 1 player must stand in each circle. Doing so will inflict minor damage to those players, but it will prevent the much stronger group-wide explosion. Meanwhile, Tail Turner will use Moogle Thrust, a tank buster that deals heavy damage to the target, use defensive cooldowns and shields to mitigate it. Once both Pom Burner and Tail Turner are defeated, all of the Moogle guards will revive and summon good King Moggle Mog the 12th. Upon its arrival, this King of Moogles will cast Memento Moogle, a powerful group-wide attack that inflicts unavoidable damage to all party members. This marks the beginning of Phase 2, during which only the King will be targetable. The Moogle King, whom I'll refer to as the boss from this point onward, will move to the north side of the battlefield and use Good King's Decree, temporarily summoning Tail Turner and Woolywart. Tail Turner will cast Pombog, a circular area of effect centered on itself, leaving behind a lingering poison cloud within the telegraphed area. Anyone who steps inside this cloud will be inflicted with a damage over time debuff that lasts for 15 seconds. Meanwhile, the boss will cast Mogstone 4, which will target a random player with a stack marker. The party will need to stand together to share the incoming damage, while carefully avoiding Pombog's lingering poisonous cloud. Woolywart will then use Mograine of Death, targeting all players with a circular area of effect for unavoidable damage. everyone should spread out to avoid overlapping damage from each other, while still steering clear of Pombog's poison cloud. Once Mog Rain of Death has resolved, the poison cloud will disperse, and the boss will now begin periodically casting Pom Holy for the remainder of the battle, a group-wide attack that deals unavoidable damage to all party members. The boss will move to the north side of the battlefield and use Good King's Decree for a second time, this time temporarily summoning Whiskerwall, Shaggy Song and Ruffletuft. Whiskerwall, Ruffletuft and the boss will each cast Moogle Go Round with a short delay between each. This attack creates a large circular area of effect centered on each of them, which will detonate in the order they appear. To avoid taking damage, chase the sequence around the battlefield until you reach the edge of the first area of effect. Then quickly move into the newly opened safe spot once it has detonated. Shaggy Song will then use Moogle Day Night Fever, the same huge frontal cone-shaped area of effect it used in Phase 1. Just as before, this attack is much easier to avoid if you are able to stay close to Shaggy Song. The boss will then follow up with Twin Pom Meteor, a double tank buster marker. Both tanks and no one else will need to stand together to share the damage, while still using defensive cooldowns and shields to mitigate the impact. Most groups will defeat the boss around this point, completing the trial. However, if the fight continues beyond this, the boss will proceed to use the following additional mechanics. The boss will move to the centre of the battlefield and use Good King's Decree for the third time. This will temporarily summon Furry Foot and Pom Burner. Pom Burner will cast Pom Meteor, conjuring 4 circular area of effects around the battlefield. Each area of effect will detonate after a short delay, dealing devastating, unavoidable damage to the entire group. To prevent this, at least one player must stand in each circle. Doing so will inflict minor damage to those players, but it will prevent the much stronger group-wide explosion. Meanwhile, the boss will cast Mog Comet, targeting random players with a circular area of effect that will follow them. As the targeted players move, additional area of effects will periodically erupt from their locations. These players must keep moving to avoid taking damage, while also avoiding standing too close to fellow party members. Furryfoot will use Pomstone 3, causing a circular area of effect to appear in the centre of the battlefield, followed by 2 additional ring-shaped area of effects. These will detonate in the order they appear. To avoid this attack, stand at the edge inside the second area of effect that appears. Wait for one of the first area of effects to explode, then quickly move into one of the newly opened safe spots to avoid the remaining blasts. Next, the boss will cast Mogstone 4, targeting a random player with a stack marker. The party will need to group up and stand together to share the incoming damage. The boss will then use Mog Creation, a frontal linear area of effect. To avoid this, simply step out of the marked telegraphed area. The final attack the boss will perform is 1000 Kuponzi charge. This is a tank buster that deals heavy damage to the target. Use defensive cooldowns and shields to mitigate it. These mechanics will now repeat until the boss has been defeated. Thank you for watching. If you found this guide helpful, please like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and most importantly, take care of yourself and each other.